Good morning, everybody. It's Jean Marie. I'm going to make a tutorial today trying to show you how I created this piece. First and foremost, though, I do want to say this is not my design. This component piece I did watch on a tutorial. I did mine differently a little bit. It's more scaled down from the original. But the original is from a tutorial done by Gem Seeker Studio, and he's an incredible wire artist. So I kind of took some of his ideas and turned it into my own piece, but the original thought for this did come from that. And you know, I like I said, I turned it into my own piece. I took and did like I said, I downscaled it a little bit, I simplified it a little bit, and made it something that was doable for me, because his work is outstanding and really really beautiful stuff. So I don't want to take away from from that tutorial. And he did not obviously put all this stuff into it. I added that to it myself. But yeah, I don't want anyone to think that, I'm trying to take credit for his original design, just for what I changed it up to for myself. So to make it for you guys, you are going to need essentially 5 sections. You're going to have this section. You're going to have this section. Once it's wired on, will stay. It has this little heart component, and then it has these pieces, which we're going to need 2 of them, one on either side. And that all gets wired together to create the whole entire focal piece. So I started with, I'm going to move this out of the way, move these out of the way. I used square copper wire. I love square wire. It works up so well. Being the copper, it's very flexible, and it works, it's sturdy to hold shape, but yet it's still soft enough to be malleable for all these bends and twists that we're going to be making. So my original piece, this piece here, the first piece, I cut about, I got notes here somewhere because I'm trying to keep it straight for you guys. I think I cut, looks like it says 10 inches, but I thought it was more than that. So anyway, this piece is definitely more than that. This is over a foot, and I think I'm just going to work with this piece, but I think it took about 10 inches by the time this is about 14 inches, and I'm just going to work with this. I'm not going to cut the 2 inches off, so. But the first thing I want to do is just kind of straighten this wire a little bit. Because it is copper, it gets bent up pretty easily. I'll flip it over into this side. It also will twist on you, so you're not, your sides aren't laying straight. You won't, like right here, it's twisted. See it twisted right there, so I want to untwist that a little bit, or try to, as much as possible anyway. But we'll just leave that for the other end. So the first thing we're going to do is take this wire and bend it in half. And because it is square wire, your two sides should lay right against each other. You don't want it twisted. So just keep working it till you've gotten it. And I would recommend that you use a wire jawed pliers for this, because you don't want to mar it all up. And there. So that's basically what we want. So we have something that looks like a cotter pin. And then we're going to open it right back up. And don't pull it from way up here after you've gotten it open some. Move down and keep moving down until you've gotten down here. Otherwise you're going to warp it really badly. So, until we've got pretty much all the way open like this. And then at this point, you're just going to start curving your two sides back in a little. And as you work this, your hands will warm up the wire and they'll start forming really well for you. So when you've got something that looks sort of like this one's still a little twisted. That's better. I'm going to cross them and start bringing them down, and you can see this one isn't shaped as well, so we're just going to give it a little more bend. Open it up a little bit more maybe. You see that one's opened quite a ways. This one has a little further to go. You also can use, oh, if I can get it, whoop, knock everything right over. You can also use something like a Sharpie marker. This one isn't wide enough. I think I need something bigger than that. A wooden dowel. Or the handle of your hammer. Just something to give you that nice shape. And that did not give me a very nice shape, but it is almost there now. So there we go. See? You bend it right into shape there. So that looks pretty good. You'd probably go a little tiny bit smaller. And it's, you know, every single one is going to come out different. This one is different than this one. This one's going to be different than this one. They're all going to come out different. They're very organic. And that's exactly what you want. So this wire, I need to start forming into a little arc. And you want to pinch where they cross when you're doing this, because you don't want it moving out of place on you. And then we start to get something that looks like this. Kind of looks like bird wings. Remember when we were kids in school and we used to make our birds by going like this on the paper? That's kind of what it looks like. I do have a little bit of a bend here that I don't really like. So I am going to try to fix that just a bit. It's not as bad as it was, but still seems to be a little less than yeah, it's fine. It'll be fine. So, and then, of course, this part down here is just two simple loops. And again, this is when something like a Sharpie marker comes in real handy. So you can go down maybe an inch on your wire from that cross section here. And I'd go down to the lower part of your Sharpie. You don't want this too big. And literally you're just going to make a loop. And I think I might have that a little too close. Let's see. Because this one's got to go in there. See, I put it right where that one's going to be. So I do actually need to make this over further. And that's an easy fix. Just unroll it. Reshape it. And I'm going to go over almost 2 inches. And just do the same thing. And now I've got a little bend there again. So I'm just going to come in here and straighten that wire out as best I can. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, you're going to have wire wraps You're going to have pieces overlapping each other. So don't get too hung up on, you know, trying to make sure everything is perfect here. All right, now let's see if we can make another one. Move it down some. Okay. And you can see that they're not exactly in the same position. This one is a little bit further in than this one is. I'm going to take my Sharpie, bring it back out a little, and then bring this wire back. And it's put it pretty much in place for me. And then from this point, you're going to start bending this up. And then you want to determine how much you want here. So I want my curve to come in and touch right about here, I think. So I'm going to need, I'm going to say 1.5 inches-ish. So I'm going to trim this off. That's why I said that that extra 2 inches on the end was not necessary, but I wasn't going to cut it off. And that's why. And then you're going to take your round nose pliers and bend this piece at the very tip. Make a small loop coming back in this direction, not in, but out. Hope that makes sense. And you're just going to make a little small loop until it touches. And then you're going to go up to the end of your round nose, right up against that loop, and bend that one back in. And then you have your little hook. Now everything is a little warped here, which is fine. You're going to come in and take your pliers and just squeeze it back down, and then it's in shape. So now we'll do the same thing on this side. So we want approximately 1.5 inches. Bend it back. Move into the thick part. Bend it in. And there you have it. There's this piece. Now at this point, this piece is something you can set aside. We don't need to do any more with it right at the moment. We are going to hammer it. We're going to hammer the bottom section of the loops and the bottom section of this here, and the outer corners, outer edges of these ones here. Not only will that just give it a nice design element, but it will also strengthen it to the point where it won't twist and move it on you as much. So I'm going to set this aside for now. We're going to try working on this piece, which actually I like this one better. We'll try making it more like this one. And this piece will set right in here. Basically like this. So let's work on that one. And for that piece, let's see, what do I have here for directions on this one? I thought I had a measurement for this one too, but I guess I don't. So I'm going to take about 8 inches. Any little ends you have that you cut off, if it's long enough to use in another project, you can. But also, it is pure copper. Save them. You can actually send them in and get refunded. Like, I don't know, it might be pennies on the pound. I don't know, but you can send them in. You'd have to research it and find it. I've never done it myself, but I have heard that people do it, and then they get like money back for all their little scrap metals. Or you can melt them down and, you know, and make something that way. I'm going to do that one of these days. I haven't I haven't invested in the equipment to do that yet, but that is going to be my goal one of these days. So we'll take, yep, I'm trying to find my ruler. Here we go. I'm going to cut, I almost think it was 7 inches for that piece, but I'm going to go 8 just to be on the safe side. And basically we're going to do the exact same thing we do with the other one to start with. Going to kind of find your center. This one's off by a lot. So I'm going to unbend it and bring it in just a little more. Get it started. So the Gem Seeker studio video is one of those ones that there's no talking. It's just music and him working. So there's no actual instructions. You just kind of watch him work and get ideas from him, which is what I did. And then again, we're just going to open it up just like we did the other one. And we're going to start it off the exact same way, only we want our loop this time to be a little bit smaller. So they come up pretty close. This side's a little deep. There we go, that's not too bad. Looks pretty good. Make sure it sets in this one. Yeah, it could be a little smaller. So that's not bad right there. That looks pretty good. And again, we're going to do the same little process here. So on this one, we're just going to use, you can do it freehand if you want to just do freehand loops, or I'm going to use my pliers because I'm just not that good. But I'm going to go like in the midsection here of my pliers, up and around, just like this. Basically like if you were making a wide loop. I have about 3/4 of an inch here. And when you wrap your loop, if you go to the top on this one, go to the top on this one. If you go under on that one, go under on that one. It doesn't matter which way you go, but keep them consistent. And if I could get it over there, we'd be doing great. There we go. So that one didn't come out quite the same size. And that's perfectly fine. I can tighten that right up just by going like that. And it tightened it right up. Still a little off, but that's okay. It doesn't really matter. Alright. Now we're going to go out here and just pick a length. It doesn't really matter how big. You do want it to fit, obviously, in here. I think this one needs a little more curve. I'm thinking maybe I got that one. Should have probably gone in a little closer like I did on this one. See how close this one is to that. That one's a little further away. But again, that's okay. I can just take this loop and roll it out. And add another one in there. I do want this one to be a little bit bigger, and I'm going to put it pretty close to that one because I don't have a lot of room over there. And I'm just going to do the same thing I did on that one. So we have another loop. There's a lot of bending and twisting to it. See, that came out fine. There's a lot of bending and twisting to it. You have to kind of bring your two pieces to meet. So let's do this one. And that looks pretty good. Yeah, they're going to fit in there just fine. Do want to kind of bend them a little bit, curve it. It's wire, you know, manipulate it to what you want it to do. So these will set basically like this. Yeah. So at this point you decide how you want this. Do you want to cut it inside the loop? I think I'm just going to cut mine short and roll it this time. I didn't on this one. I cut it right inside the loop on this one. Whereas this one I made a little bit smaller. So I'm going to cut it like that. And I'm going to take the tip of my pliers and just do a little tiny whoop. Might leave it right there, I guess. I was going to make a little tiny loop, but that's okay. I kind of like that right there. It gives it almost a 3-loop look. Like I said, every single one of these is going to come out different. No matter how hard you try to make them the same, they never will be. And so just embrace that. Let it be what it's going to be. See, I like that one just as much. I think that's just as cute. And I need to twist it a little here. And that's going to set right in there just fine. It's going to look nice on there. So we'll set that section aside now. And we'll work on the heart piece. This one is a little more freeform when you're curling it. You're not using your tool as much as you are your fingers. And I'll show you that as soon as I cut off a piece of wire here. I don't think I need any more than that. I will measure it out. So this is just about 6 inches, and that's more than enough probably. So we'll get the same process going as before. Twisted them. So just like this. Again, pull it right apart. And because you want your heart to have a nice shape, you do want to kind of bend it out here at the point a little more than you would of the other two. That helps to give that heart a nice curved area. Okay, so this is where it gets a little more interesting. And I have way too much wire on here, so I'm probably going to end up having to cut it. Well, I know I'm going to end up having to cut it down. So you're just going to kind of let your wire do its own thing. I know, and I'm probably not in a good position showing you here. Actually, this is not too much wire. It's pretty good. So just grab your wire. I'm going to trim this one because it was a little longer than the other side was. So what I did was, this is really hard under the camera, grab the tip, grab my wire, and just start bending the wire. I'm not rolling it with my pliers, I'm just pulling it with my pliers. And then when I get down into here, see, it's a little wonky right now. Now I'll start working on straightening it out. I'll bring this one in a little. I'll adjust them a little, get them where I want them. This side I really like, but I think it needs to be smaller. And of course, by making it smaller, I need to trim some more of this off. Bring it in a little more. So I'm really liking this side right now. Let's see if we can't make this side look a little more like it. It's getting close. I think I still have a little too much wire on this side. That's really all you're going to do. You're just going to keep playing with your wire, bending, twisting, getting it into shape, figuring out how you want it, if you like it or not. Like, I got a lot of wonkiness going on right here. I'm just going to give it a little smoosh. And that'll help straighten that out a little bit. Okay, so it's getting really close now. You can tell that this side has still got a little too much. Just do it in little bits. Don't take off too much at once. And that's real close now. And I think I'm going to call it good. I actually don't mind that. I do want to turn this piece here a little bit more. And I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, maybe I want to bring this in a little more. And this wire is so soft at this point from handling it. You can make most of your movements right by hand. I think I liked it better before I disrupted it, but that's okay. Bring the sides out a little bit. Let's see if that helps. So that's not too bad. I mean, I think I like this one better, but this is okay. And I think actually, if I pull on this side a little bit, round out these sides a little more. Alright, I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. Actually, I'm not. I don't know enough to quit. Actually, now I'm starting to really like it. I do like that a lot. Again, it's a little wonky. I can fix that. Just come in with your... That might be a little too big at this point, but you want something, if you're going to do it with metal, make sure they don't have teeth. And you're just going to want it to, yeah, you're just straightening the little bent parts, little curves here and there. And there we have it. And that's pretty cute. I don't mind that one at all. Like, that looks really good. Okay. So there's part number 3 done. This is what we're starting to have going on here. And now we need 2 of these right here. And this is actually pretty simple. I'm not even going to cut it off to begin with. To get that piece started, and it's basically the same way as when we were doing the heart. You grip it on the tip. I'm trying to do this without twisting my wire. And bring it in. This is not easy under this camera. But you're going to bring it in just like a slow curve till you get essentially that right there. Bring it in a little more. Okay. It's not perfect, but give it a little trim and see if I can pull it in just a tiny bit more. And that's going to be good enough. So then we start bending it down a little bit like this. Bringing it in. I am going to cut it off now. So you want to kind of bring it down over it and then start curving it the other way. And then at this point, again, I think I have way too much here, but you can almost do it by hand at this point. Like this. Come in and trim some of that wire off. And then slowly start to form this curve. Okay, so we have the basic shape. Now we just need to start tightening it up. Okay, so that one wasn't too difficult at all. It isn't quite the same shape as that one, but again, like I said, they never ever come out the same. And that's to be expected. It is wire. It's not like it's being made in a form. We're freehanding and we're doing our best with it. And that's really all you can do. And you know what? If you like it, if you're satisfied with it, that's really all that matters. So I actually like the one I just did far better than the one I did yesterday. And you can tell I ended up switching to another roll because this one was a little darker than this one. I ran out of the one I was working on, which was a little more antiqued, but I don't care about that. They're all going to color up in time anyway. That's just the nature of copper. So once we have this heart in place here, excuse me, these will go in here. And actually, you know what? I think these are a little too big. So I'm going to trim the smaller loop. I'm going to take off about 1/4 of an inch of it. Bring it back into this one. And just reform it. And that shortened it up quite a bit. And I think that would be that's a better fit. So let's do the same thing with this one. Yeah. Yeah, those definitely going to fit better now. I wish I had made this section maybe just a little bit longer, but that's okay. And I can by making this loop here a little smaller. Just pull on it, make it a little smaller, and that extends the whole thing a little bit. So yeah, that works out really well. And it actually is going to make this one fit inside there even better, actually. So perfect. I didn't want to make it a little rounder though. I did kind of warp this one a little bit. Okay, so we have all our pieces made. I'm going to pause, get out my hammer and block. Okay, so on this one, I'm not going to do it on here because it's very, very loud, but I'm going to show you where I'm going to hammer. I'm going to hammer these tips, this rounded section here, pretty much all of this, and again, this one and this one. Okay, so I have hammered this whole section, this edge, and this edge on all of these. Now remember, do not ever hammer in a cross section because you will break your wire. Too much over hammering will make your wire brittle. So, you know, just get it to where you want it. Don't keep going crazy on it once you've gotten it into that shape. Now you can tell from mine that it is, you know, there's places that are wonky and whatnot. I don't care. That's going to be fine. So I'm going to set this one aside. And on my heart, I'm really only going to do these outer edges. I don't need to do down in here. I might flatten it a little bit, just what fits in there a little better. But basically I'm concerned with these outer corners. So I'm going to get that one done. Okay. So you can see I got these outer edges. And I did do this just a bit, just to make it a little flatter. I didn't like do a lot of pounding or a lot of dragging or anything with it. I just a little bit so that when I get ready to wire them together, they fit together a little bit better. But there's that one. So both of these, I'm only going to do, and I want to do them this way so that they're facing each other. Again, I'm only going to do this section here. Okay, here are these two. And the last piece is this one. And basically I'm just going to do it the same as I did the other one. I'm going to do this point piece here. I might touch a little bit on these ones, but at this point I don't think I'm going to because they're very close and I don't want to accidentally hit the crossbars. So I think I'm only going to get this piece here done. Alright, and there's that piece. So all of our pieces are hammered. So now it is just a matter of putting everything together, which actually, believe it or not, I find harder than forming all this stuff. It's not hard, it's just a little tedious, but that's okay. We'll make do. So I just had this copper wire. I think this is a 20, this is probably 24. I would go with 26 if you knew it, wire wrapping, because it will work a little better for you, but I think this one is 24. Yeah, I would go with 26. And I'm just going to cut off some short sections to get started. I just want to kind of line these up over each other right here at this section. And then just figure out where you want to start. And then literally you're just going to wrap it around it however many times you feel like. I like a lot. I actually kind of like the look of it going all the way up it. And I did cut off enough, I could probably do that. So I might just do that, go right up to the first loop. You want them good and tight, but you also want them snug together. It gives it a nice look. Oops, I overlapped one. And the more places you wrap it, the more sturdy your overall piece is going to be. Get back in place now. Alright, maybe a couple more wraps. There. So it looks really good. And yes, it did pull out of place here, but that's fine. When I get ready to wrap that one, I'm just going to manhandle it right down into there. Just like that. You gotta remember, this is wire. We can bend and twist it. Things will move. So let me cut off another piece. All right. Get this one lined up. And get it started. It's a lot of fun to play with wire, you know, I mean, it's not extremely expensive. If you have to throw it away afterwards, you haven't really lost anything, and actually what you've gained in knowledge and experience far outweighs, I think, the cost of a little bit of wire that you might have had to throw away. Because you're not going to learn if you don't practice and if you don't try, so that is the best teacher. I went through spools and spools of wire trying to figure out how to do this stuff and watched a lot of tutorials. Okay, this piece is a little bit shorter. I'm not going to make it all the way to that loop, but that's okay. All right, now you can see it's not lining up. Now it is. It's that simple. Just, you know, just make things move. Make them work to what you want them to be. All right, I'm going to, I think, put a little bit of a twist in this one and then bring it, the whole thing up. That one right there looks pretty good. I don't think I have to do too much to that one other than bring it up. So looking good so far. Yeah, I like it. Now I'm going to go ahead and trim these off. So right here, this one, can you see that where that wire crosses this one? I'm going to trim this wire so that I can poke it right in next to that wire right there. Hope you can see it. But I don't want it to poke out. So I'm going to try to get a spot where I can just hide it away. Alright, this one, there's a little opening in there. I'm going to try to wrap it around and just poke it into that opening. And that's the main thing with your wires. You want to find a place to poke the ends. So that nobody gets poked with them. So there's two. Okay, this one I'm going to wrap it so that it kind of pokes in between these two wires. This video may go a little bit longer than normal, and I apologize if it does, but I can't show you all these steps and you know, and speed through it, so I'm going to try to get this one to go not that way. Now I can tuck it right in between these two wires, so it's flush with that. And this one, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do it on the underside. There. Now all my wire ends are gone. Things are starting to look pretty sturdy. Alright. Now let's work on putting in the heart section. The heart I do bring down in, so these V's are actually covering those V's, and then I just go around in the center for the first part, and then I just do a little bit up here. But you're gonna, you know, your spots are gonna line up in different areas, So you just pick the spot that works best for you to get it in there. All right, I'm going to cut 3 pieces of wire so I have them all cut. All right. So the first one I'm going to take, I'm just going to bend it in half like a little pin, like a little bobby pin type deal. And I'm going to drop it right down over this and this. And then I'm going to hold them together the best I can and crisscross them in the back as tightly as possible. And that'll help me hold it in place while I'm wire wrapping. And then I'm just going to poke this one up through and back down through. Grab my pliers, snug that up, do it again, and it doesn't make the prettiest, like you can tell on mine. My wraps are thick and chunky and bumpy, and you know what? I think it just adds to the whole overall look of it. Wow, there's a big difference between that shiny copper and my antiqued one. But they're both very pretty. And now I'm going to do the same thing because I've run out of room on this one. I'm going to take this piece from the back, poke it through the heart. That doesn't sound good at all. And do the same thing. Just snug it up. Poke it in there, snug it some more, and that's probably going to be the last wrap for that one. So now I want to take this end, we'll just squeeze that whole thing a little bit here. Actually, I want to use these ones, just to give it a little bit of a flattening, if I can get it in there. There we go. That's a little better. All right, take this, pull it good and tight, wrap it up around as far as it's going to go, and then I'm going to trim it off. I've got wire stuck to everything here. Trim that one off and wrap it around that inner wire as best I can. This one does not want to cooperate with me, but we'll get it. There it goes. There it goes. So I just wrapped it right around that wire right there. And on this side I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to take my pliers, get a hold of the end of it, snug it up nice and tight, and it's going to go right over this wire right here. And then just kind of do whatever you can to get it pushed into there. And there we go. It could be pushed a little bit further in, I think, but it isn't poking out. It's not going to hit anything. But there we have that. And again, things are a little wonky. That's fine. We will get that all straightened out. Okay, so we have the heart attached now. I'm going to take these two pieces of wire here, and I'm going to go in right here, and basically right, make sure I get it good and tight. There. So it's now attached on this side. And there is a lot of manipulating involved. You do want to bring things to the point where they're, you know, where they're in line with stuff. So don't be afraid to pull things around. There we go. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. See if I can get it so that I can just work it through the... I'd like to be able to pull it through that like I did the other one. I'm going to have to open it just a tad. Alright. And the first wrap or two is a little sloppy usually because you're trying to pull everything together, but when you tighten it up, it pulls it tight. It truly does tighten it up. So we have that. So we're getting there. Just bringing it back out again a little bit. Roll my heart shape back in. Okay. I'm going to tuck it right between the V right there. This is where a pair of needle nose pliers would be very handy, but I don't own a pair right at the moment. But you just don't want any pokey wires. You just want to find a spot to tuck them away. Alright. Pull it good and tight. And I'm going to try to poke it right in there. That's going to fight me. Alright, I'm going to bend this one just a little out. There we go. Get it right in there. Perfect. Take my pliers, put everything back in place, make sure everything's lining up. So that's coming together pretty good. Alright, I think I have 4 on that one, so I think I'm going to put one more loop on this side just to even it up. One more wrap. Just to make it look the same. Alright, now we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to try to find a couple spots to poke this wire around. This one's going to be a pretty simple one. I'm just going to go right over the whole bar here. There. And I think this one's going to go right in between the two V's here. Another method that you can do is where this has something on the front there. You can't always do this one, but I'm going to do it on this one because it's in between that V. Pull it in between them, and then do the twist it off method, which usually works, but there we go. And then what's in between there, all I gotta do is come in and give it a little push now. And it's all good. So here's what we have so far. Clearly this one I think I made a little bigger. You can tell the difference. It also is pointed down, which I think I did that by going like this. I'm just making a little kink in it here. So it's almost the same. It's getting there. I mean, they're, you know, like I said, they're never going to be the same. You're just not gonna. It's just not gonna happen. And the curve in it, that you'll form all that afterwards once everything's all together. So, all right, another piece of wire. Maybe. Boy, I've got a tangled up mess here. I don't know what I've done or how I did it. All right, I'm going to need a small piece to loop these two heart sections together, the inner part of the heart. Try not to kink you while pushing it through. See how I just did that? It creates a weak spot. I don't think I'm going to end up using that section anyway. It's above where I'm going to be cutting it, so I'm okay. Definitely something you want to watch out for. Alright, now I'm going to take the back piece, pull it over, push that one around, just to give it one more wrap. Scoot everything together. Give both sections a nice tug. And we've closed that heart in. And then we're just going to do the same thing. I'm going to push the tip of our wire over. Squeeze it down in so it's not poking. A little too much on this one. Yeah. Looking pretty good. Now these two, you're going to attach one to the side of the heart. And do I have it upside down? I do. So this one goes on this side because this is the side I hammered. That wire poking me. So essentially you're just going to wire these two together and right here together. I think I'm going to trim this just a little more. It's still a little bigger than I want. So I'm going to pull that one in, pull that down, and I didn't hammer this side, so it doesn't really even matter. It's not like I have to go back and re-hammer it or anything. So another small small amount there. Roll that in. And that's way better. Now it sets there. That one sets there, and that one sets there, and that's exactly what I want it to do. So that's perfect. So I'm going to have to do the same on this one. So again, make this one just a tiny bit smaller. Bring that loop down. Trim off a chunk. And roll it back in. And that's way better. That fits so much better now. So don't be afraid to move stuff, you know, change stuff and cut a piece off here and there, and you know, do what you need to do. So we're going to need 4 more pieces of wire for these connectors and these connectors. And we're essentially done with it, other than shaping it up a little bit and you know, then it's up to you to decorate it the way you want. And I cut off way too much wire. I know I do. I mean, I've got end pieces galore here that are bigger than I need, but I like to have enough wire to work with. I don't want to run short and then be trying to grab it with my pliers to pull on it because I don't have enough to work with. I'd rather have plenty. So now we're going to lay this in here. Try to hold them with your fingers. That's the fun part. Push it through. Because this has an opening over here still, I can go right around it, which makes it nice. Alright, I got 3 wraps on this so far. I'm going to give it a good tug. Snug everything up. Bring that wire back that I was working with from the back, or that I was holding on to in the back. And I think I'm going to put 1 more in. 4 seems to be a good sturdy wrap. Now you see I have a gap here. I'm just going to pinch them together. Alright, so there's that one on. And then the next one's going to go right here. I'm going to move those wires out of the way. I'll trim them all up afterwards. Well, I'll trim that side afterwards. We'll do this side first. So, let's get that in there. Hold it in place. Make sure you don't kink your wires. And there's our 4 wraps. Looks really good. It is not lined up quite the same, so I'm just going to come in here and give it a little smush, and that flattens it right out. I am also going to, while I'm right here, close this gap a little. There, that's a little better. Alright, now we'll trim this one up. So I'm going to cut this one so I can poke it to the inside of that loop. So basically it's going to look like it's coming back out to the front, but it's just not going to go very far. So get right in there. I need some better cutters. Those are my old ones. Like that. push it right inside that loop. And push it right down. And that one's gone. This one, I'm going to get right in between the two. Trim it just a little bit more. There we go. Push it down in there and bring it all back. All right, there's that one. Now we'll trim off this one. Well, these both have a little V section. I'm going to do that other method. I'm going to poke it through and poke it through if I can. Alright, I'm going to bring that up into here. Give them a good pinch. And I just messed that all up, so I'm going to have to give it a good tug. There we go. That straightened it right back out. I'm going to do the twist it off method. If this wire wasn't so thick, it would twist and break really easy, but because I went with a thicker wire, it's taking a little more oomph, but there we go. It's in there. There's nothing on the back side that's going to poke anybody. There's nothing on the front side that's going to poke anybody. So here we are so far. Again, like I said, when we get closer to being done, we'll start, we'll start giving it its curve and all that good stuff. So we only have one more piece to attach. Alright, so the same thing as the other one. Only this time I don't have an opening to go through, so I do have to push it through every time. Oh, I do, it's right there. I hope I'm staying in frame for you guys. It'd really stink if I had all this done and realized I'm out of frame. I get concentrating on what I'm doing, forget to check. Alright, one more. And poke it through. Let's get hung up on that little bit right there. Get off there. There we go. There. There's that one. Pull it together. So what do you think so far? Looking pretty good? I think it looks pretty good. Alright, one more to go. I did that one different, didn't I? I did. I thought that was working way too easily for me. Alright, I'm going to take that off because I did want it to match the other one. It's like, why did that go so quick? Because I was not going through the loop. Alright, so I'm not going to worry about straightening this wire because it's going to be the exact same. It's going to be the exact same spots that it's going to land in, so it's going to bend in the same way. Yeah. There we go. Looks good. And again, it does not matter where you tuck your wires and trim them, as long as there's nothing poking out. I did these ones different. Time it's beaded up, you'll never know. You really can't see it anyway. Oh well, it is what it is. All right, there we go, folks. She is done. So I hope you guys were able to understand and follow along pretty easily with me. Anywhere that you feel is loose, that you don't think it's tight enough, or like right there, I could do some more looping there. I'm not going to, because if I was to bead, I would probably end up looping it at that point in time, or I could loop it across this section right here to make it feel like it's a little tighter. So, you know, anywhere you don't feel like it's firm enough, feel free to add some more wire wraps. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Wire wrap the whole thing if you want. Go around the whole entire thing. It would, I think that would be gorgeous. But you know, do what you want to do with it. Make it the way you want to make it. But I'm just trying to give you the tools to work with so that you can create and make your own. So I hope you enjoyed it, guys. I certainly enjoyed showing it to you, and certainly hope that you know, it was something you could understand and follow along with. Beat it up, do some pretty stuff to it. This is what I do with mine. I just took wire and beaded around the curve here on both of these. Just ran a wire through the bead here and wound it around both sides of this. And on this little dangle here, I just wired around. I think honestly, I put it around a little bead, put both wires up through, and then when I got to the top, I wound both wires. Like this one went this way, this one went this way, and that's what created these wires that are on the side here. Right there. You see how this one doesn't have that thickness right there on both sides? That came from the bead that I wired on from the center. I did close this one off here. I did not on this one, so you know that's a choice you can make. You can bring it in nice and tight like this. Basically just do it like a jump ring, you know, when you bring them together. You can tighten it right up to the point where nothing's going to get through, and then you don't need to worry about wiring that one. Or if you want that decorative effect and just want to add some wires there as well, you can. Yeah, do whatever you want to do with it. Make it yours. Have fun with it. And I would love to see anything that you guys come up with. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and until next time, bye.